Jenna got into that girl's methadone, and before you knew it, whoopee, it was 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Within days, she was slamming dope. In a month, she was strung out. After Lake Isabella, the ATF relocated us to Oceanside, but that didn't stop Jenna. Hell no. When I prevented the girl from leaving the house to buy heroin one day, she called the cops and told them I'd beaten her. I was arrested and taken away in handcuffs. John Carr had to bail me out. Occasionally, during our time in hiding, I'd catch bits and pieces of news from the old hometown. The Vogels knew where Bill Thompson lived, and they made a point of cruising past his property, hoping Jenna and I might show our faces. Bill bought himself a gun and mounted security cameras outside the house, but he and his wife never felt safe, and eventually they sold their home and left Hemet for good. The Vogels were never prosecuted under the RICO Act. The reason, according to John Carr, was the U.S. Attorney's Office lacked the manpower to handle the number of defendants Operation 22 Green had generated. For that reason, most of those greenies were prosecuted by the state of California, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing because they all got slapped with the dreaded step gang enhancement penalties. When all was said and done and the evidence gathered during the raids was acted upon, 42 Vogels and their associates were charged for crimes ranging from drug and weapons violations to first-degree murder. Big Roy Compton pled guilty to felony possession of a firearm while a member of a street gang and was sentenced to 24 months in prison. Big Todd got 30 months for felony possession and street gang membership. Apparently, I was never going to get a fighting shot at either one of those fuckers in their cells though. John Carr couldn't make it happen. In hindsight, I figured that was never in the cards anyway. Jack Fight, the baddest of the bad, was facing a felony conviction for possession of a controlled substance for sale and looking at an automatic 25 years to life under California's 3 strikes rule. He died of complications from hepatitis while awaiting trial, ending his days behind bars just like everyone else said he would. I don't figure many tears were shed for that evil son of a bitch. The Hemet chapter that I'd gone undercover to drive out of town had been completely gutted, with most of those boys bagged on criminal street gang related charges. 1 year after the takedown, only Loki was holding down the fort, and that Vogel was barely hanging on by his fingertips. In the early spring of 2006 came the news I've been waiting for. John was on the line again. It was time to go into Witsec. You ready? Hell yeah, I told him. Let's do this. As instructed by the US Marshals, Jenna and I packed 1 suitcase each. There were no personal photos allowed. No paperwork, nothing of any kind that might link us to the past. Old Joe and I spent the last day together fishing on Oceanside Pier, talking about the time that we had spent together, the people we'd met, and the experiences we'd shared along the way. The two of us had been partners for almost 20 years, sticking together through thick and thin. He relied on me as much as I relied on him. Without that big gangly bastard, I'm not sure I could have made it through those years undercover. We were brother tight, old Joe and I, and now I was leaving that brother behind. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Am I ever going to see you and the kids again? He wanted to know. Don't know, buddy, I said. I honestly don't. Joe had grown especially fond of my son. He once told me he didn't want to get attached to any more kids because they grow up too fast to move away. I think my boy was a bittersweet reminder of the 2 sons he hadn't seen in years. Now Joe was being forced to say goodbye all over again, and that gentle man could hardly bear it. I was thinking, maybe this day wouldn't happen, he said as he fished. I guess maybe I was hoping it would never happen. Lately, I've been thinking the same thing, partner. Joe turned with a questioning look. What are these people really going to do for me anyway? I said to him, I don't know where I'm going. Hell, I don't even know who I'm supposed to be. Well, whoever you are, I'm gonna miss you. I grinned, then fell silent and listened as the waves lapped against the pilings. Funny the shit you remember. This reminds me of a day I spent with my dad when I was a kid. He wanted to fish from this wooden bridge that ran out to an island in the middle of a lake. So I held the poles with one hand and held my father's neck with the other. And he swam out there. And I was like 7 years old. Man, things were so much simpler then. I glanced over at my friend. What the fuck did I do, Joe? I used to think my life was gonna be Ozzy and Harry, you know? Boy, was that a fucking joke. Old Joe looked out towards the Pacific. Brother, all I know is I feel like the loneliest person in the world right now. And you're not even gone yet. John Carr arrived in his SUV shortly before dark. Our luggage was thrown in the back, and Joe attached the car seat. Then he strapped my son inside, kissed him on the head, and closed the door. I cried tears of sorrow twice in my life. Like I said, tears were reserved for anger, and that always meant victims. But I cried from the heart when my father passed away, and I cried that afternoon when I said goodbye to old Joe at the curb in Oceanside. My friend was crying too. Love you, brother, he told me, clasping my hand. Guess I'll see you when I see you, I said, and turned away. As we drove off toward the airport, I glanced back. Old Joe was in the street watching us. He was still standing there as we turned the corner. At Los Angeles International Airport, we were met in the terminal by 3 US Marshals, 2 men and a woman. After John turned us over to their care, I had another goodbye moment with my longtime shepherd. Been quite a ride, huh, buddy? I said to him. I just hope you're not disappointed. Why would I be disappointed? Hey, listen, you did good, George. The Vogels are out of Hemet. That's what you got into this for, right? You should be proud. I shrugged. Yeah, but we didn't get rid of all of them. Dude, that was never going to happen. These gangs are like cancer. You can cut them out, but they'll always come back again. So we'll just keep going after the bastards. That's what we'll do, right? He proffered his hand and I shook it. But I felt the moment deserved something more. So I pulled the special agent into a hug and slapped him on the back. Hell of a job, Uncle John. You too, George. Take care of yourself. Will do. I lifted the bags. Jenna held the baby with one arm and Sierra's hand with the other, and we followed the marshals through a side door that bypassed gate security. As the female marshal led us down the gangway, she made a half-assed attempt to connect with Jenna. I know this must be hard for you, she said, tucking her badge away. You want to act like you care? Snarled Jenna. Oh shit, here we go. This is your day job, bitch. You're going home to your family tonight. This is my fucking life we're talking about. Man, those marshals couldn't get us on that plane fast enough. Our commercial flight from Los Angeles took us to an airport in Washington, D.C., where we were met by yet another U.S. Marshal dressed like we'd interrupted his weekend of fly fishing. He wore a tan cotton vest covered with small pockets and a firearm holstered at his side. The man was all business as he directed us into a box van with blacked out windows, then drove us on a long haul to a military base that I could only assume was Langley. The first stop in the WITSEC program comes below ground. The marshal maneuvered the van through a sally port and down into a cement bunker with a heavy metal door that closed behind us. From there, we were escorted through the bunker's cement bowels, led down corridors lined with doors numbered like any above-ground hotel. Only this Hilton had no windows, the staff never smiled, and room service offered nothing but frozen dinners and microwavable pizza. Jenna called it the Bat Cave. For me, it was purgatory all over again. We were back in limbo, waiting for new identities and our next destination. The medical staff gave the whole family physicals, including a vaginal for Jenna and an attempt by the doc to poke his finger up my ass, which I politely declined. After that came fingerprinting and paperwork, including the documents establishing our new WITSEC identities. We each had the chance to submit 4 names, first, middle, and last, filled out like a multiple choice exam. Jenna wanted Sierra to choose her own, but the kid kept opting for names like Lightning, Thunder, and Snow, so Mommy chose one for her. Apparently, our youngest was exempt from all this. Baby Doe could keep his given name because he was born in a protective custody, a child of witness protection. A serious-minded young marshal with burn scars on his face gathered the paperwork. You understand that from this point on, you won't be able to communicate with anyone who you might have known in the past, he explained. Yeah, we get it, I told him. In 20 minutes, you'll be taken back to the airport and flown to your final destination. Upon arrival, you'll be met by your handler. You'll be given $2,500 to get you started in a new place to live. And where will that be, I wanted to know. You'll find out when you get there, replied the marshal as he exited the room. With George Rowe now consigned to history, I downed a few slices of shitty frozen pizza and told Jenna I was heading out to the patio for much needed smoke. "George," she said before I could leave. When I turned, she looked like she was about to cry. "I've known I've been an angry bitch, but I know I love you. I always will. If it wasn't for you, I doubt I'd be alive right now." She paused a moment, then added sadly, "I just wish you would set me free."